Hey yo, Chi-Town, listen up. You are now listening to the best sports talk show in the Windy City. Combs and Fitz. Windy City Sports Talk. From the birds to the lake, there ain't no mistake. The Combs and Fitz gonna have the greatest of the hot takes. Okay. So hop on the board and join the bandwagon. Ooh. They gonna keep your feet moving and sometimes how you laughing. Yeah, that's so true. Come on through with the sports talk is what you wish. Midwest know what's up and don't miss Fitz gibberish. It don't matter what team you playing, but what's gonna burn that flame. So put your team on the map. Guess what? We gonna do the same. From Comiskey to Wrigley, where? From Soldier to UC. Okay. Windy City Sports is where you need to be. But there is no furthermore. You get the jits. So let's get the rest for Combs and Fitz.
And what is going on with these City Sports Talk fans? It's your boy Brandon Combs, along with my guy Ryan Fitzgibbons. If I can find the damn button, there we go. What's going on, Fitzy?
You found it.
Is
this where I can call you a rookie now?
You can if you want to.
Life is good. Still,
why is our screens backwards? My name's under yours. I don't want to be under your name. I don't want people thinking I'm Fitz. I don't want everybody being like, "Oh, Fitz has all the damn good takes."
You definitely don't want that.
No,
you'll be freaking.
Yeah,
be arrested.
No, absolutely not. But we're gonna have a great show today, guys. For all you guys joining, we're gonna talk some AFC North. We're gonna break that down. It's our weekly divisional breakdown for the NFL. We got 8 more Sundays to go before NFL Week 1. We're gonna talk some Cubs. We'll talk some Sox very briefly. We don't want to talk about either one of those guys too long.
Yeah.
And we are going to have a very special guest on the show. He is a WGN radio producer, also radio producer for the Chicago Blackhawks. His name is Jack Heinrich. We're going to bring him on here in just a little bit. But Fitzy, man, how was your week?
It was good. I'm still nursing kind of a 4th of July hangover. I didn't burn anything. There was someone who did and we'll get to some of the 4th of July stuff that happened in Chicago a little bit later, but there was someone that did a firework display near me that was like constant fireworks for like 4 hours until like 1 in the morning.
It's so stupid.
Oh, come on.
It's so I'm okay with it, and you know me, man. I'm very pro America, very pro military, very pro celebration, all that stuff. But after 11 o'clock and after July 6th, you are no longer a patriot, you are an asshole. Lies! Plain and simple. If you are still blowing off fireworks at 1 o'clock in the morning,
it was nuts,
and you are still going around after July 6th and blowing off fireworks, you, sir, are an asshole.
America, fuck yeah! Coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah! America, fuck yeah!
No, it's not America. So listen. So there's something to this, right? Because my dog goes nuts when fireworks go. She goes nuts, and she doesn't like them. Blah blah blah. Most pets there's a lot of pets out there that are like that, and I get it and I understand it, and that's one thing, right? But what other people don't think about, man, is that in your neighborhood, how do you not know that whether or not you have a veteran who has PTSD? Yeah, now when they're expecting fireworks to go off from the city and all this stuff, they're expecting there's a time they can go and they can take certain measures to make sure that it's not bothering them too much. But when all of a sudden, randomly, 45 minutes after you stop blowing them off, you start blowing them off again. Now you got Joe Blow underneath this kitchen table taking cover.
Yeah, thinking like he's in the...
Yeah, and it's like not...
It's offensive, and it's 1969 Vietnam or something.
Jeremiah Murray already chimed in and says, if American sports did relegation, all of our teams would be fighting to not be relegated or would have been relegated in the past couple of years here in Chicago. That is absolutely the truth. Chicago sports has been absolutely atrocious.
My name is Brandon Combs. Let's start a sports podcast about Windy City Sports. We'll call it Windy City Sports Talk. And then our teams will win jack fucking shit.
The biggest problem I have with that whole thing of coming up with the idea for the Chicago Sports Podcast was that I asked this guy, Ryan Fitz, to do it with me.
That was probably, that wasn't a good decision. That was not a good decision.
But there is one team in the city that I think is making good decisions. There's one team in the city that I trust a front office on. There's one team in this city that I think that if they are going to bring another parade back to the city of Chicago, and we talked about this last week, the Sky might do it too. But I think it's the Chicago Blackhawks. And who better to talk Chicago Blackhawks with us than a guy who works with WGN Radio, works with the Blackhawks, does all that stuff. His name is Jack Heinrich. Jack, what is going on, buddy?
Hey, guys. How are you? Glad to be here.
Good, man.
Jack,
good.
Thanks for coming.
I loved your guys' intro. I was cracking up the whole time.
Yeah, you did add some stuff, Combs. It was good.
Yeah, it's been we're trying different things here and there, but that's kind of what Fitz and I do, Jack. We just kind of go at one another for the first 5 minutes of every show, and we try to get people engaged.
I think I won that one.
It's good. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. So look, I've enjoyed the Blackhawks offseason, man. I don't know about you, but the Blackhawks offseason has been really, really good. I think that their draft was really good. I love you and I have talked about that. I love the draft pick of Artem Levshunov. Then I love their free agency moves so far. What are you thinking so far about the Blackhawks?
Yeah. I mean, I was a Levshunov guy going into the draft. It's funny because we did something with WGN with Joe Brand, who's the post and intermission. We did like a little video for the draft and whatnot. And at first, I said this in the video, I was a big Demidov guy. Like I didn't really look into stuff, but I was like, I mean, a potential 100-point wing to guard with or pair with Bedard. That sounds great to me. Sign me up. But the more I looked into it, Levshunov just won me over. The offensive skill. The defensive development that he's made, he's still a little raw on the defensive side, but he seems like one of those guys that we've seen coming out of college, like a Cale Makar. He could maybe be something like that if he hits his potential. And the Hawks just signing him to a 3-year entry level as well. He'll be in Rockford with all these other young guys. I think they're going to have a lot of those younger guys that we saw in the NHL last year. They're probably going to be pushed to Rockford with all those signings. So I've liked it. I mean, Kyle Davidson said at the end of his end of season press conference, he's like, we need to be better. We did not want to be the second worst team in the NHL again. We thought we would be better, and we weren't. And that's not acceptable, and we're going to be better. And a lot of times GMs say that, and then that's just a way of saying we're going to tank again, But he went out and signed 8 guys on that first day, and bringing in Tyler Bertuzzi to pair with Bedard, bringing back Teravainen, all these guys, adding to the defensive core. That's something we talked a lot about, Brandon, is their defensive core was not very good last year. And we see these teams like a Florida that just shut teams down and they go on to win the Stanley Cup. So I get that some Blackhawks fans are like, why'd you sign all these veterans and older guys? I mean, they signed a bunch of guys over 29 and now they're one of the older teams in the league. But I think they're trying to develop guys the right way than just giving them spots. That's something Kyle Davidson said last week is last year we kind of had to give guys spots because they got smoked with injuries in December, January, somewhere around there. And they're bringing up all these guys from Rockford and they weren't necessarily ready. Now they can leave them down there, make them earn their way up into the NHL, and now they have these guys to cover in the meantime. And I think you want to be a little better and have more talent around Bedard because he's so special, and you want to develop him correctly and get him going in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, right? Like about the GM saying one thing and doing something completely different, because every GM we have in this godforsaken city does that to us. We watched it with Jed Hoyer last year. We've seen it with the White Sox. Have been going through it for 5 or 6 years. They're in that black hole of baseball until their owner passes away. There is just so many things that in this city that we are starved for, and a team that can win a championship. Holy crap! What is that?
That wasn't a good overlay, but it was.
No, that was a terrible overlay. Who created that one? Rookie?
I did.
Jesus Christ.
Let me see if I can get a better one, but it's all the losing that's been happening. I mean, the last team to make it to the playoffs was basically coached by a dead guy, Tony La Russa. The last team to make the 2021 White Sox. And no one on that team is even in the MLB anymore, barely.
Oh, I saw that. There it is.
Yeah. There it is. That's him dying for the first time. But anyway, yeah. But you did mention Tyler Bertuzzi, and and he was he had to get vetted a little bit. He had to get talked in, not really talked into coming here. But one of his ex-teammates told him, yeah, you should come here. And he said, Blackhawks weren't on my radar, but as soon as I heard about the Blackhawks, I got excited. I mean, are the Blackhawks a destination again now? With some of this young talent and, some of these veteran players coming in, are they a destination again? I mean, I guess they kind of always were, but I mean, it's been bad for a little while here.
Oh yeah. It's been bad for a little bit. I mean, they had their fair share after the cups of bad GMing and not rebuilding the right way. I think Kyle Davidson I think what you're saying, Fitz, I think it's true pretty soon. I think for now they can get some guys. I mean, Nick Foligno is the one that called Tyler Bertuzzi and was like, hey, like, this is what we're building. I mean, what a great acquisition by Kyle Davidson to get Nick Foligno, a veteran. He was great in the locker room when we were in there after games. He really took a leadership role. He's taken a lot of these young guys under his wing, especially Connor Bedard. So I think enticing to play with Bedard as he develops and they get some of these guys. I mean, they have I think they said Kyle Davidson's made 8 first-round selections in the last 3 years. So they got guys coming, and I think they will turn into that destination. And you could even see this city rally behind the Hawks, because I think what you guys are saying, it's been so bad, and I'm sure we'll get into that later with everything. But in the city, I think they're starved for star power, and the Hawks got Connor Bedard, and I guess the Bears got Caleb Williams now, but Bedard was before him. And season tickets went through the roof. And for them being so bad, I mean, I was at all the home games covering them. They drew pretty well. When they dipped is when Bedard had a fractured jaw. I mean, he wasn't there. And I mean, I think 8 or 9 other guys were out too. So, but they still drew pretty well. It's a good experience at the Hawks. They do a great job putting on stuff. And when you got someone like Bedard, you're going to bring people who aren't really familiar with hockey. So, but long-winded. Going back to your thing, I think they're on their way to be more of a destination. But I mean, getting someone like Bertuzzi, getting someone like Teravainen, and then Martinez and Brody, these are guys that played on contending teams last year. I think they're on their way to getting those bigger prospects in the free agency and getting in for the big guys.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I hear people say it all the time. As a matter of fact, I heard it on the radio today, talking about how this, and they're right. I mean, this is a Bears city, right? Like this is if the Bears are great, this city will be through the roof. It's by far a Bears city. So if Caleb Williams comes in and is everything that he's supposed to be, then Caleb Williams is going to be God. He might even be bigger than Michael Jordan in this city, and so. When you talk about the Blackhawks, the thing that I disagree with people on is people are like, I heard it today, the Blackhawks had a dynasty and people didn't even know that there was hockey in this city.
Bullshit.
That's yeah, exactly. Bullshit. Because people knew that there was hockey. People are watching. They were on primetime games on national television.
Oh yeah,
week after week after week. The stadium was packed. They've got the greatest anthem in all of sports.
Oh, it's great.
The Blackhawks do. So as far as this being a destination team, I think that they are on their way to building that. Jeremiah
says a couple of years. Combs. Well, and that's if we're down this track anyway. Jack, what do you think about that? Couple years then before they're relevant again or in the playoffs? I mean, it's not super tough to get in the playoffs in hockey, but you tell me how many years are we waiting here? Because I'm in my 40s. I need a championship soon.
Smack them down, Jack. Tell them they're a playoff team this year. Smack them down.
I wish I could sip the Kool-Aid, but I was reading something from The Athletic from Mark Lazarus, and he said the biggest point turnaround for a Hawks team is 25. And if they did that this year, they'd still be 15 games out of, or 15 points out of a playoff spot.
Oh God,
so it's going to be hard. I'm excited about the upcoming year. I mean, they added a lot of guys, and I mean, Alex Martinez is like, I'm looking around and I'm like, I think we're going to be pretty good. So, I mean, you never know what can happen. It is sports. I still think they might be a year away. Unfortunately, I think they'll be a lot more competitive. I mean, last year, especially when they had Soderblom in the net, he struggled a lot last year.
Yeah.
You'd see him, and you're like, it might be tough to win today, unless they're playing Toronto. He started both games against Toronto and won both of them. That's just how
he owned them.
But I think they'll be a lot more competitive. I mean, I think they'll push into the 70-point range. We'll see how it works in the Western Conference, but I hope they would be a playoff team this year. It'd be fun. I'd want to work them. I want to cover them going deep into June and all that. But I think there's still maybe another year or two away from making the playoffs. I mean, if they sign Patrick Kane this year too, in addition to all this, then maybe they're pushing even more. But they've closed the book on that. So for whatever reason, they wanted to start a new era, I guess. But I know a lot of fans wanted him back, but I still think they're a couple years away. And a lot of these guys, these young guys like Korchinski and Levchinov, I think are going to be in the AHL for most of the year, and they're going to have to work their way in the NHL. So I think it's still another year or two.
Yeah, so one of their biggest things last year was defense in front of the goaltender. I was screaming about it all year long. They've got no defense in front of their goaltending. They got to do something. So they go out and they draft Levchinov. Then in the very next week when free agency starts, they go and get TJ Brody. They go and get Alec Martinez, and then they go and sign Laurent Brossoit. Now, I love Laurent Brossoit. I was watching him last year. The guy with 22 games. I think he had a 2.6 goals against average. He was 15-5-2 in those 22 games. I think that the Blackhawks upgraded defensively, but now at the same time also upgraded at goaltending. What do you know about Brossoit?
I mean, I was looking actually at his stats right before I came on. I mean, this is a guy that his save percentage is consistently above 900, which is what you want, and 90%. And Soderblom wasn't doing that. The Hawks came in last year thinking, okay, him and Mrazek are going to split, and they'll be about 50-50. And Mrazek just took a stranglehold on that, and mainly out of necessity. I mean, Mrazek's a guy that's battled a lot of injury in his career, and he finally is healthy. And you're seeing how good of a goaltender he can be, even if he's just a stopgap between the young guys. And they were hoping Soderblom would be better, and now he's going back down to Rockford to be with another prospect, Drew Comesso, and they're going to have to split. But I think Brossoit gives them stability. They don't have to overwork Mrazek, and I think it gives them a good chance to be in a game night after night, even if you're going to your second goaltender. I mean, we were talking a couple weeks ago when they signed him, Brandon, that this is a guy that's like, oh, this guy's really good as a backup. So you could play him 20 to 30 games a year. And I forgot what you said, but he was like very good win-loss record. So I think it's very, very solid veteran pickup. And I think that'll help if they're playing some young guys, like if Korchinski and Kaiser are up this year on the defensive core, he might be able to mask a few of their mistakes. Because last year, if Korchinski was making a mistake, it was going in the back of the net a lot. And Troy Murray on our broadcast was saying a lot. He's like, I don't blame the goaltender on that one. He couldn't see it, or they didn't do their job on their assignment. So hopefully with Brossoit coming in, you send Soderblom down, you see if he can be anything. You let him and Comesso compete. And that's the big thing just surrounding the team is you brought in a bunch of guys that are going to compete for spots. Last year, not a lot of competition. Brossoit, he'll stabilize the goalie position. So I thought it was a very solid pickup. I mean, every seemed like hour they were signing a new guy, and you're like, oh, this guy's pretty solid. This guy can work in. So I see why some people are like, whoa, let the young guys play. But I think they're taking the approach with Anders Sorensen down in Rockford, what he's done with Alex Vlasic, his development. They want these guys to go down there, and they'll see what they could do with Soderblom and all the other young guys.
You got anything?
Oh, I
thought you were going.
I thought it was your turn. Unbelievable. You see all the interviews we do over here, Jeff. We're usually talking over
my screen froze for a second. I thought I lost you guys.
Well, what do you think the jump's going to be? And I guess since we're talking about the young guys, what do you think the jump is going to be for Connor Bedard this year? I don't see a sophomore slump coming, but what do you think the jump's going to be here? I mean, I know he struggled a little bit with faceoffs in the beginning of his career. I mean, I'm guessing he'll bulk up a little bit more, but what do you see? What do you want to see from Connor Bedard this year?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see more of what he was right when he came back from his fractured jaw, because that 2-week stretch, I think he had a couple 4-point games. He was really playing with his hair on fire, and I think he exceeded a lot of the exceeded a lot of the expectations he faced last year. And that's pretty hard for him coming in for a number 1 pick. I mean, the guy who was going to be with him on the top line, Taylor Hall, tears his ACL 8 games into the season. It was just a revolving door next to him on that top line. And I think he played very well. And I know the points are a little down, but he missed 2 weeks with that, or I think it was a month with that fractured jaw. And
yeah,
he was going to be a point per game player as a rookie, which, I mean, he's going to be up in the 80-point range, which was very impressive. So I think, yeah, like the comments say, I mean, 60 points for an 18-year-old, and he missed 20 games. I mean, he was spectacular out there. I mean, just watching him, some of the passes he made too, a lot of these Hawks players he was playing with weren't necessarily ready for those passes. Like, Bedard has such a high hockey IQ. He sees stuff, and I remember one point, I think it was a February game, he threw a backhand pass all the way across the ice, and Philip Kurashev wasn't really ready for it, fumbled it, and missed a shot. And after the game, he's like, yeah, I didn't think he could get that to me. I got to be ready for that. So I hope with somebody like Bertuzzi and Kurashev, who played with Bedard all last year, can elevate his game. I mean, I'm expecting Bedard to be at least a point per game player this year and take that big step. And another thing is, this guy is a crazy worker. I went to a few practices in the beginning of the year, the preseason, and they would practice in 2 groups. And he practiced in the first group. I remember one of them, and I think he wasn't playing that game day, but everybody else went inside. He was out there by himself for an hour, just practicing on the ice, just by himself and the practices fans can go to and stuff. I think you just got to get a free ticket online or something, but he's just out there for 45 minutes. Everyone's watching him, and he's just practicing. And that's something that his teammates have said, is he's a hard worker. So when you say that sophomore slump, you don't think that's going to happen, I don't think it is either, because this guy works so hard, and he's such a hockey rat that he loves being on the ice, and that's all he does and all he wants to do. Even when he broke his jaw and fractured it, they didn't want him taking slap shots or whatever. He still went on the ice at practice a week later in a bubble, just skating around, doing what he could. And I'm expecting big things from him. I mean, I think he'll exceed expectations even this year. He was an all-star last year, point per game. I think we'll get more, especially if he's got a consistent top line with them. And the Hawks power play is going to be a lot better too, with Teravainen and Bertuzzi, and won't be as much as a revolving door. So I think he'll be very good.
So where, with the Blackhawks right now, as it stands right now, what do you think is missing from them from being a playoff contender? You talked about they might be an extra year away. What stops them this year? What is the holes that you see in this roster right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things. I mean, they need a top wing with Bedard, which is why I think a lot of Hawks fans were split between Levshunov and Demidov, because you're like, hey, let's get that top guy with Bedard. So I think they need some scoring. They have some younger guys, like Frank Nazar is a guy that I haven't mentioned yet, or we haven't mentioned yet. He's came in last year, scored on his first shot in the NHL, and played, I think, 4 or 5 games, but he's probably going to be in Rockford a lot next year. So they need some more offense. They struggled to score last year a lot, and I think they addressed that with some nice complementary pieces with Bertuzzi and Teravainen. Those are guys that have scored 20 goals in the NHL before, but I think they need that elite kind of sidekick with Bedard, a little more scoring. And then, I mean, defensively, I mean, they got to be more solid. That's something we've talked a lot about, Brandon, but I think they have some young guys like Wyatt Kaiser. They have Nolan Allen. They have Levshunov now, Kevin Korchinski. But I think a few, if not all, those guys might be down in Rockford at least for some of the year. just so they can play more consistently. I was reading something again today from The Athletic, and it said that Hawks were maybe looking at a little bit of a Tampa model where they all kind of came up at the same time. So they're going to be very good. So a lot of what I'm saying is make sure you watch Rockford too as well as the Hawks, because Rockford's going to be really good and they might be competing for the Calder Cup down there. But yeah, I think if they can get Levshunov and Korchinski and then maybe a couple of those other guys like Nolan Allen or Wyatt Kaiser playing well on the defensive side, that will fill a need. And then I maybe next draft they got to find that elite winger, or maybe they can get one in free agency in the upcoming years as a destination. But they need that big scoring, and they need to be more solid defensively.
So now, we joke around here a lot, and some of it's joking, and some of it we're joking, but we're serious at the same time. When we talk about Virginia McCaskey and Jerry Reinsdorf, the fans of those franchises need their owner to die before they can move on and be better.
You're not joking about it. I don't know.
I know. I've offered
You
to shove
never
a stake
sound like
through Virginia McCaskey's heart once a week. So it's one of those things. But unfortunately for the Blackhawks, who had a phenomenal owner in Rocky Wirtz, he passed away this past season. And Danny Wirtz took the helm. Now, I don't know a ton about Danny Wirtz. Is there something you can let us know? Like, is Danny Wirtz going to be, the image of his father or the image of his grandfather? Because the grandfather was kind of like the two owners that I just mentioned before this, and the father built a dynasty. Right. And I don't know much about Danny Wirtz. I just want to know which direction this organization is headed as a whole.
Right. Yeah. I don't know much about him either. But I would say more towards his dad, not his grandpa. I did talk to him once. We were leaving actually the arena. I think it was the last game of the year. Me and then Joe Brand and then Troy Murray. And we actually were walking down the hall, and he was coming down the hall. And he's one of the nicest guys. I was kind of like, he probably won't say anything to me. Like, he doesn't know me, but Joe was like, "Hey, this is Jack. He does a lot of our stuff." And he looked me in the eye and gave me a really nice handshake. He's like, "Hey, Jack, love what everyone's doing there at WGN. Cause we just signed our 3-year extension." He's like, "That's great. We couldn't be happier." All that type of stuff. So I think he's very hands-on. He's at a lot of the games. He watches very closely. A couple of years ago, they had to repair a lot of their image with the Kyle Beach allegations and everything that went on there. He's listened to a lot of that stuff. They've revamped that whole process of how the reporting goes and all that stuff. They got a lot of feedback, and he made a lot of changes. And so he's done a lot of good stuff. And he's very nice to me, which I don't really expect from owners like that, because I feel like they're the 1%. They're doing all this stuff, owning the team. But yeah. I think he's done a really good job. He's done a good job repairing the team's image and changing a lot of that stuff that was wrong. And the feedback that they got, they took it seriously and they made changes. And I think he's done a great job. So I would say more towards his father, because I think he grew up with Rocky, and then in his early adult years, he saw what he did with this team, building a dynasty and bringing them back on TV and filling up the UC and all that stuff. So I would say more towards his father. I think I don't think we're going to be hating on him as much as we do some of the other owners in this town.
Yeah, and Jeremiah Murray comes back in. He says he originally didn't want the job, right? The fact that he took the helm tells me he wants to carry on what Rocky built.
Yeah, I don't know that for sure. I don't remember hearing that, but it sounds right. He's talked a lot about what his dad's done and trying to carry that legacy on. And they have these seats in the bowl. I forgot where it was. It's where the Hawks the Hawks shoot twice on. It's right up there. That's where Rocky used to sit in that lower bowl, and they made Rocky seats.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so they give it away. I think fans can nominate something like that. They can nominate a fan that embodies what Rocky embodied. So he's trying to carry that on and all. And that first game was of the season was just crazy, because they had Vegas coming in. They just won the Stanley Cup, Bedard's first home game, and it was the first game without Rocky. And they did all this tribute stuff, and the family was there, and yeah, he seems like a genuinely really good dude trying to keep that legacy that his father had. And I think he's done a good job with it.
All right, so last Blackhawks question that I have for you before we move on to the harder stuff and talking about the teams that we want to shit on today.
Yeah.
The last Blackhawks question I have for you is whenever we have a guest on, we have athletes on, all this stuff. I've always asked the question, and I try to bring a locker room story out of them. Now with you, I'm not going to go that route with it. You don't need to get in trouble and bring out a locker room story. But what's the coolest? What's the coolest interaction you've had with a Blackhawks player?
Trying to think. So I've been doing this for like 2.5 years ish. Trying to think if there's anything good. I mean,
it could be an ex-player too.
Yeah, there was this one
with Chelios, or
yeah. No, I mean, you weren't hanging out with Corey Perry during the Bedard thing, right?
Oh,
okay.
I had nothing. I forgot, dude. This hockey season is so long. Like, I forgot Corey Perry was on the Blackhawks even. But Nick Foligno. I mean, he's just like he like loves talking with the media, and so like, I mean, and he was kind of the de facto captain, so he would kind of be shoved out there a lot with the bad losses and all that. So he would talk for like 4 or 5 minutes or whatever. But this one time, it was so like when the Winter Classic was announced, one of the reporters, Ben Pope from the he broke it like that day, like a day or two early, that like, hey, they're going to be in the Winter Classic and whatnot. So we finished the media scrum with Foligno, and he's like, all right, thanks guys, and whatever. And then this is a few days later when it was officially announced. And he finishes and he looks at Ben. He goes, Pope, nice job, man. You nailed that league for the Winter Classic. He's like, all the guys were excited. He's like, if that wasn't true, you were going to be in trouble with all of us or something. So I just thought that was funny. I mean, there's probably other stuff too, but
yeah.
He's always really funny in there. But yeah, I thought it was just funny that they were paying attention to the reports from the beat reporters if they're going to be in the Winter Classic or not, which will be pretty fun at Wrigley at the end of the year.
Oh yeah.
So you and I, we've talked at length about all sorts of different sports. We've worked the Chicago Dogs together. We've talked about radio. We've talked about sports. We're kind of we both like the sports gamble, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what that whole group chat is.
Yes.
And so you and I are both on the boat with the Cubs, and we
Unfortunately.
we have dealt with a lot of that. And we joke around about, the Cubs are back, the Cubs are this. I think, me personally, and I've said this before, and I argued with Cody Decker this weekend about it, because he said the Cubs should absolutely be sellers. And I kicked back at him, and I said they should sell at the same time that they add. So like when you're talking about guys like Tyson, or not Tyson Miller, the kid from Oakland, I can't remember I always forget his name. Mason Miller.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out and get Mason Miller, you can still do that. And I'm not talking about make yourself good this year, but you can go and get yourself a bona fide closer for next year. You might have to send Nico Horner or Ian Happ or Cody, but I don't know if Oakland's going to want any of that. So you're going to have to add a bunch of prospects in. So at the same time, if you want to add a bid bat like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., or they're probably not selling now, but at the time, a lot of people were talking about Pete Alonso, you could still do the same thing, offload an Ian Happ to a team that's maybe a contender, as opposed to them not getting anything for Pete Alonso. Where do you stand in that boat? Do you think that the Cubs should be sellers, or do you kind of agree with me they could add and sell at the same time?
I agree with you, because I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard for them to sell those big pieces. I think I saw something. I forgot where, maybe on Twitter or something, that like maybe the Yankees want Cody Bellinger. But the thing is, all these guys that you think they could sell, be like, oh, let's trade Ian Happ. Ian Happ is a full no trade, so you got to work that out with him. He holds all the power. Bellinger's got, I think, $60 million left on that contract with options and their player options. So is a team going to risk it? Because, I mean, he hasn't hit a home. I can't even remember the last time he hit a home run. He's lost his power. He's still hitting 270, but he's lost his power. So I feel like he's probably opting back in the way it stands right now. I mean, a lot can change. There's still half the year left, but Mason Miller's interesting to me because I feel like Tommy John's waiting to happen because he throws so hard, but he is a reliever. And you'd have to give up a lot in the Cubs. I mean, Jed loves the prospects, so he has a lot of them. But I would be all in on someone like Vlad if they could swing it. If you could swing hat maybe. And he's who's going to be in on belly? Nobody's thinking about the Atlanta Braves. They lost Ronald Acuna Jr. Smith or Harrison has been out. I don't know how much longer he's going to be out, but they're down 2 outfielders. Mm-hmm. They could use a guy like Cody Bellinger, even though his power hasn't come back. He can still hit the ball, and I think it would play well in Atlanta. Yeah, no, I mean that's a good point. So I mean, I think they have options. Believe it or not, I think they still have a little time if they get hot. Because I mean, what was it last year? We're like, oh, they're going to sell, and then they just went nuts in July and whatnot. So. Yeah. I think they could sell and add because the thing is, if they sell, it's like when are you going to be good again? Because if you sell all these guys off, what are you going to have next year? And that's why I argue it with people who say, oh, they got to sell. I don't think it needs to be a sell. I think maybe you trade one of your major league ready pieces to shake up the locker room. But you're getting something back in return for that. Like I said, like a Mason Miller or, Vladimir Guerrero. The Cubs are going to do so because it doesn't make any sense to go into a full sale. No. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You need to add a couple of pieces. You need to add some back end of the bullpen help, and you need to add a big bat. That big bat probably comes in the offseason this year because the National League, I mean, there's so many teams that are just the Cubs are so bad right now, and they're only like 5 games out of the wild card. Yeah, with as bad as they are, and they're the third worst team in the National League.
Exactly. They got to leapfrog like 6 teams, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, but you're still 5 games out.
I think this is just more of the same. Either shit or get off the pot here. They have to make some big swings in some direction here. They haven't made huge swings for really a lot. I mean, they've replaced players. They re-signed Cody Bellinger. He was already signed last year. They didn't get any better from last year to this year, and they just expected to be a good team, a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. I really think that they have to make some big swings here. And I don't know if Jed Hoyer is the guy to do that because he seems to play it safe most of the time. I mean, when he errs on a side, it's the side of caution. And you can't always be like that, especially when you're trying to make that next step from a 500 team, which is the worst place you can be in professional sports and any league.
Look in the camera and say what you want to say. I'll say it with you. Jed Hoyer, grow some balls.
Exactly. Grow some goddamn balls. I thought you were going to say something about the White Sox, but we're not talking about the White Sox. There's so much trouble there. Come on. No, let's get over with that. But yeah, no, I do think, I think it either is sell or you're right, either buy. I don't think if they do both again, I think you're in the same boat next year. I don't know. I think you might still be in the same boat. And if you're the same team next year again, you're going to run it again. I mean, Milwaukee got better in the offseason where no one thought that was going to happen, but Milwaukee did get better, and they are a better team than the Cubs, where they weren't that much better last year, but now they're a far better team. I mean, even St. Louis,
I'm going to kick you straight in your teeth, man. I'm going to kick you straight.
They're fighting to get that last wild card spot from. And even if you do get that last wild card spot, you leapfrog 6 teams.
We are the Chicago Sports Talk Show, and you're talking up the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals.
Since mid-May, that's your Cubs.
Jesus Christ.
Because I'm prepared to fuck somebody up, so you can take it as what it is.
I'm just saying, this is the Chicago goddamn Cubs. If I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, I'm treating them the same way I treat the Bears. I want them to spend fucking money. They're printing money over there. I mean, I went through it last week, or maybe it was a week before. I don't know. I got too drunk on the 4th of July. But put that down. Anyway, I don't. They should be spending some more money. They're making $70 to $100 million a year, and that's just what they tell us.
No, I agree with you. I'm with you.
Start spending some money. Yeah, if they're gonna pick up Vlad, then pick up Vlad already. But you better have a fucking big ass goddamn contract on there. There's always 2016. Yeah, we're already getting there. We're almost a decade
eight
removed.
years.
Yeah, which is
I mean,
unreal.
I think the Hayward contract has scared the Cubs from big contracts, and then
You might
they
be
tried
right.
to be safe with Dansby, and it's happening again.
And it's Jason Hayward again.
Yeah, so I think they're scared to send. That's something my brother always says when we talk about it. He's like, I think Jason Hayward scared them off, and I mean, it
PTSD.
happens. You sign bad. I mean, it happens. But the problem, like you said, they're the Cubs. Wrigley sold out all last week. They were 9 games under at one point.
Yeah,
They got money. I mean, they are top 10 in payroll, but
you got to spend money the right way, though. You got to send it to the like when you're talking about, hey, we got Dansby Swanson for $180 million. Well, you could have had Trey Turner for $304.
Mm-hmm.
And Trey Turner for $304 puts you a hell of a lot further up in the standings than Dansby Swanson for $180. And the crap, that's where I do agree with you, Fitz, is that the threshold, the luxury tax threshold that they don't want to go over. Fuck you. Go over the damn threshold. Be the Yankees. Be the Dodgers. Be the Red Sox. The Rangers. The Rangers.
The fucking
a small
Rangers?
Market team.
It's 150
Padres
stadium. Who goes to the Rangers in the middle of summer? It's 150 degrees in that goddamn stadium. Yet they're spending all this damn money.
The Padres draw just like the White Sox do when they spend money like crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're looking like the 20-something market, and they had what? They had Soto, Bogarts, and Tatis and Machado all at the same time. I mean, it didn't work, but
if you're in San Diego, the only time you say let's go to a Padres game is when it's raining, and it never rains in fucking San Diego, so you're never going to a Padres game.
And then they end up smoking Tide stick and not even get to the Rangers, to the Padres.
Yeah. I don't understand the notion of selling. To me, doesn't make a ton of sense, because a full sale doesn't make a ton of sense. But a partial sale that brings pieces in, and it's got to be major league ready pieces. And it's probably not Mason Miller, right? Because Oakland's not trying to get better. Like they're not trying to get better. They're trying to sell less jerseys, sell less tickets, and go to Vegas. They don't want anything to do with Oakland anymore. But it's going to be somebody somewhere along the way, whether it's Colorado with Elias Diaz, whether it is somebody. If you look at the Marlins and there's somebody there that you want, like a Jake Berger who just walked off the White Sox the other night. Like there could be somebody, a big bat from somewhere that you
fucking
want.
Dare you? Couldn't help yourself.
Did you hear the Rays call on that? The Tampa Bay Rays radio call on that was fantastic.
Marlins?
Oh yeah, the Marlins.
Oh,
He goes, yeah, he's talking about what did he say?
He's like, I'll take a burger to go.
Yes, a burger to go. There you go. That's what it was. That was a fantastic call.
Oh,
good for Jake Berger. I mean, he was batting 150 for a while there. So.
Yeah,
he's had a rough year.
Absolutely. Well, Jack, man, I appreciate you joining the show. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks,
we'll have you on again for sure, talking some Blackhawks as the season goes. Before you get out of here, I didn't get to ask you about the Blackhawks schedule. What did you make of their schedule, real quick?
I'm confused why they still go on the road. Like the last 4 years, they've had like a 4 or 5 game road trip to start the season. It'll be fun though. Their first game's in Utah, so that'll be fun. The first game there, and then their home openers, the Sharks and Macklin Celebrini. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. And then obviously the Wrigley game against the Blues will be fun on New Year's Eve. The Stadium Series or whatever, the Winter Classic. Yeah,
if you need somebody to tag along with you for that into the press box, man, I'd be willing to go with you. I don't know if you need anybody, somebody carry your bag or something. I
need
with
a security guard, so
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'll get you on the list.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we appreciate it, Jack, and we'll have you on again, man.
Sounds good, guys. This is fun. Definitely again.
All right, man. All right. Have a good one.
Jack.
So that is Jack Heinrich of WGN Radio, Blackhawks Radio, all of the above. He does a fantastic job there. A great dude, man. I met him over here at doing Chicago Dogs games. We've talked. He's helped me out with different things, learning different things over there on the TV side. Does a fantastic job with the Chicago Blackhawks as well. So definitely check him out. I believe it's at Jack Heinrich 22. On Twitter and on Instagram. Does a great job there. Shanna chimes in and says, "Hey guys, what's going on, Shanna?
Hey, Shanna.
Welcome to the show." But yeah, man, we'll have him on again for sure. That was great.
Yeah, a lot of info, especially knowing the Hawks and all that.
Yeah.
So we have like a cadre of Hawks experts. So
that's awesome.
Of them, but it's good. It's good. They all have a different perspective, I think, and I think it's going to be a fun year, whether they're good or bad. I mean, a lot of young players. That's always fun.
Yeah, and Jeremiah Murray says you sell because you're a piece of shit team with no impact players. I disagree.
He's got you. You guys said that you wouldn't replay it. You and there nobody is the best at their position on the team.
There is nobody at the best at their position, but they do have some guys. Like you're not selling Seiya Suzuki, right?
No. You're not.
So Seiya Suzuki, his defense has been pretty bad this year.
Yeah, it is.
But his bad has kind of made up for it.
He's not good enough to get a lot for, and he's not bad enough to trade.
Michael Bush has been everything that they've wanted him to be coming from the Dodgers. You look over. I like Nico Horner. I know a lot of people are talking about putting him in trades. I like Nico Horner. I don't want to see Nico Horner go anywhere. I
just think you need more slugging. But I mean, he is your second baseman, so you're not going to get a lot of slugging from your second baseman anyway. But
103 here today with the humidity. Gotta love it. You can keep that over there.
You can keep that in Tennessee.
Yes.
Tennessee.
Absolutely. Tennessee. I like the way you said that there. All of a sudden you became with the southern drawl.
Exactly. I'm trying out just in case we move again. I'm in Indiana,
Yeah. All of a sudden you're Brian Kelly. I don't know. But anyway, are you ready to get into Fitz gibberish?
Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Fitz gibberish, a diatribe, a conspiracy theory, and an island in the middle of unapologetic and sometimes inaccurate sports talk. But our guy Jack and we did okay. I mean,
I think so.
I think we did good. Okay, but here we go.
He was good. We were okay.
Yeah, he was good. We didn't know when they asked questions, but whatever. As you doom scroll through Facebook or Twitter for the next manufactured reason why the country is going down the toilet, and you bump into our show, you might have guessed that we're quite comfortable with being crazy. A wise man once said, "Crazy photographs well." And we need all the help we can get in that department. And it sure does most times. Look no further than the social media sites I just named, where algorithms push you crazy shit to keep you scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But there is a certain vintage kind of crazy that does not like to be photographed. A clandestine kind of crazy that usually isn't detected until it's too late. That crazy is the contagious kind of crazy that seems to spread like wildfire without much effort from one group to another until you're not sure what is true and what is crazy. Well, that's why it's always smart to listen to with Windy City Sports Talk, because we're crazier than a shithouse rat.
Oh, God.
So we can smell that rat with the shit all over it from a mile away. Ladies and gentlemen, the crazy I'm speaking of, I give you DraftKings, who somehow caught Chicago sports fan crazy when just a day ago it puts Bears coach Matt Eberflus as the betting favorite to win the Coach of the Year. How dare you? the same Matt Eberflus who had to fire his longtime friend and defensive coordinator Alan Williams early on in 2023 for, we still don't know why, which means it was probably crazy horrible. Another kind of crazy. Then David Walker, their running back coach, was fired a few weeks later for quote unquote workplace behavior, which almost definitely means he was sending someone dick pics, or what I like to call it, a Brett Favre.
Oh God.
Oh, it doesn't stop.
I thought that was stealing from your local economy.
Yes. That one too, Brett Favre, you scumbag. Oh, it doesn't stop there either. During a press conference last year, Flus forgot the difference between not playing and doubtful. Eberflus, take it away in the press conference right before the Carolina game.
Update on Justin Fields. He's progressing every day. He is not medically cleared yet. And Bajent will be our starter for this game, and Peterman will back him up. Accuracy's improving. He's throwing it better, and he's starting to do more and more and more. So we'll see where it goes. And right now we're listing him as doubtful, and we'll see where it goes from there.
If he's not medically cleared, well, how come doubtful versus out?
Yeah, just to see. We got to give him one more day. But he's working hard, and it's getting better every day. So we'll see where it goes.
He's not playing tomorrow.
Yeah, he's not playing.
I'm having trouble understanding. He's not playing, but he's doubtful. Is he out or doubtful?
Now he's listed as doubtful.
But you're saying that he's out. He's not going to play.
We'll see where it goes. The chances are doubtful, 51% that he's in or out, and it's going to be. We'll see where it is. We got a little.
Bullshit. It's painful. Fucking painful. I still don't know if he's in or out, and the game already happened.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. And his defense also gave up 3 fourth-quarter double-digit leads. His defense that he was coaching because his buddy, probably bettered a 16-year-old and got fired.
Jeremiah said his pre-goatee, it doesn't count.
Shut up, Jeremiah. Get off his ass. We are in the prediction era of sports, sir. And I suppose that's fine, but don't let one city's thirst for a winner make you crazy. Even if Eberflus didn't have all these issues, we would still be talking about a team that was 7-10 last year and should have been better. They would have to go like 13-4 in my calculation for him to even be considered coach of the year. DraftKings, check the numbers again. Take an Advil for the crazy you caught. And remember, you're backing a city's decision-making that parties like this on our highways on the 4th of July. Those are fireworks coming out of a sunroof, for Christ's sake. We're halfway there. Whoa, but Pete Carroll.
And what the fuck was that?
Gibberish, my friends. Combs.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Dan Ryan, that's the 87th Street exit sign you saw.
That was the Dan Ryan?
That was the Dan Ryan. Did you see the 87th Street sign? Here comes the 87th Street side. Yeah.
It's the Dan Ryan. Holy crap.
Are you kidding me, DraftKings? Fitz needs an edible. I need a couple of them.
Megan TV says his expertise is being an Ace Hardware man.
That's what my dad makes fun of him. Says he's the Ace Hardware man. I don't know what that means.
I don't know about Flus being the. I mean, I'm not betting him to win Coach of the Year. I'm just not. If I'm going to put money on somebody to win Coach of the Year, it's going to be like Jim Harbaugh or, somebody that is somewhat competent.
Tomlin, maybe, if Russell Wilson goes off.
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to talk about Mike Tomlin here in a little bit when we go over the AFC North, but I don't know if I don't know. I can't put it's like plus 900 still, and that's the betting favorite. Like I can't put my money on him preseason to be Coach of the Year. I just can't.
How do you win by
Bears
default?
are winning the North by default.
Is everybody just quitting
explain
football?
What do you mean? Yeah, I was gonna say everybody else just everybody else just says, hey, we're not playing this year, we're gonna go 0-17, let the Bears win.
I've just never seen a flip like this before, where this guy was arguably the worst fucking coach in the league.
To be fair, their roster is their roster is infinitely better than last year, right?
Their roster is better. What does that have to do with the fucking coach?
Because people are thinking they're going to win the North and go to the playoffs and stuff from a team that was 3 wins 2 years ago, 7 wins last year, and now all of a sudden they're winning their division, going to the playoffs. That could possibly make Eberflus Coach of the Year. To me personally, if you look at if DeMeco Ryans didn't get it last year, I don't know how Eberflus wins it this year.
I don't know. They weren't that bad last year. I mean, it's usually a guy where your team was pretty bad, and then all of a sudden they made the playoffs, or had a really good year. Yeah, if DeMeco Ryans doesn't make it, I mean, it's just they had one of the best coaching pools to hire from in the history of the league, and they went, no, we're good.
I'm not offended that he could win Coach of the Year, and I don't have them winning 17 games.
Quarterback's thumb is bad or not. He didn't even know what the fuck was going on. What was that press conference?
Texans only make the playoffs because of a dropped pass. Well, Texans were also infinitely better than they were the year before last year.
Oh, yeah.
DeMeco Ryans absolutely should have won Coach of the Year for that job that he did. All of a sudden, you knew names like Nico Collins. You knew names like Tank Dell.
Yeah.
I mean, DeMeco Ryans did a hell of a job last year with the Houston Texans, Buck. A hell of a job. They only got better by 5 wins. Only. At any rate, we got the AFC North. Let's preview the AFC North. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers, shall we? Uh-oh. Oh, we got music.
Football music.
We got music. Are you playing it off of your phone, you rookie? What are you doing?
Want a little higher?
Yes.
Let's go. Here's the
still sounds like you're playing it off your phone.
And key departures. Shut up. Are we having a war of music here? Can we do the Steelers?
Anyway, Steelers key additions: Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Roman Wilson, Cordero Patterson, Troy Fontenot, Zach Frazier, Patrick Queen, and Dante Jackson. Key departures: Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Deontay Johnson, Chukwuma Okorafor, Levi Wallace, and Patrick Peterson. Now, look, I would argue that Pickett and Rudolph are more like key get the hell out of here.
Addition by subtraction.
And the Deontay Johnson one is going to hurt a little bit. But I did like the addition of Roman Wilson. I did like the addition of Fontenot and Zach Frazier to that offensive line. And where it's going to get interesting is going to be the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the deal for them. Is you either start the year with Russell Wilson and see how far he can take you, or if Justin Fields beats him out in preseason, you have a decision to make, because now if you take him out in preseason and you make that decision for Justin Fields to start, Justin Fields now all of a sudden gives the Bears a 4th round draft pick instead of a 6th. If he plays more than half the games, that 6th round draft pick that they gave up for Fields becomes a 4th.
Or if Russell gets hurt.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to make that decision right away. I don't know what they're going to do, but to start their season, they do have the Falcons and the Broncos on the road. 2 teams that are supposedly improved. 2 teams that went out and got their quarterbacks, did what they needed to do to get better. I don't know that you necessarily want to go into either one of these games with a quarterback question in your locker room. Now, all of a sudden, the Pittsburgh Steelers are faced with the same question that the Chicago Bears were faced with 3 years ago when they drafted Justin Fields.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. I mean, Russell Wilson didn't have a bad year last year. Really, he didn't. I think a lot of people forget that. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Yeah, he didn't have a lot of yards, but he was economical with the yardage he did have. He played pretty well. I think it was just a thing like the Denver Broncos are in transition. This could be a pretty good Steelers team. They're still an okay defensive bunch. I mean, what they're going to do at the quarterback position, I think, is going to be the big question. I mean, this is probably the team that has the biggest up or down possibly in this division in the AFC North. Maybe you could put the Browns in there, but I don't know how many people are going with Deshaun Watson having a great year, but we'll see. I think a lot of things can happen here. I mean, this could be, this is another team that wasn't terrible last year. They weren't great, but they weren't terrible either. Unless Russ gets hurt, he's starting the season.
And I disagree with this. And here's why.
I'm not 100% on it either.
They're only paying Russ $1 million. A lot of people forget about that. The Steelers are only playing Russell Wilson $1 million this season. So to tell him to go away, if he gets beat out in the preseason, to tell him to go away wouldn't cost them very much money.
No, it wouldn't. And I mean, I still think there's probably some mileage on him. I mean, I don't see why there wouldn't be. I mean, the whole thing will be I think he had a lot of problems in the locker room with the Broncos. I know Tomlin doesn't really play that. I mean, he's usually pretty good at keeping his team together, at them gelling pretty good, but Russell Wilson's going to have to do some chunking. He's going to have to be good right away. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. And like we said, this offense isn't a juggernaut. The offensive line, they got some good pieces, but they've changed a lot. And that usually doesn't always work out right away.
And their schedule, let's look at their schedule real quick. They got the Falcons, the Broncos, the Chargers, the Colts, the Cowboys, Raiders, Jets, Giants, Commanders, Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. I mean, that's a pretty tough schedule with a team that hasn't played together a whole lot heading into this year. You got a lot of new pieces on this team. I know you have one of the best coaches in the game right now. I love Mike Tomlin. I love the job that he does. I have this team at 9-8.
Probably the best pre and post game coach. And like I said, it could go in various directions. I mean, Russell Wilson could suck, and Justin Fields could suck no matter how much praise we threw at him throughout the years.
Absolutely.
He's very inconsistent himself. So it could have some range here. I have him as a losing team. I have him at 8-9.
It would be the first losing season in the coaching tenure of Mike Tomlin. That is actually why I put them at 9-8. I figured Mike Tomlin's going to find a way to go 9-8 as opposed to 8-9. You know what I mean?
Doubting Thomas said I wouldn't hire Justin Fields to make my Subway sandwich.
We also gave him blue balls. He was complaining because the graphic was up too long. He couldn't see our faces.
Yeah, he wanted to see us.
He had to finish, and we weren't letting him finish because the graphic was up.
I just think there's too much variance here. The teams, it's probably changed more than maybe any team on this list. I mean, I know the Browns, Watson was out most of the year last year, but we can move there if you like.
Madden has Justin returning kicks. They also have the Bears overall rating team overall rating lower than the Carolina Panthers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you got geeks making those games. I mean, really, do they know a lot about football?
No, there's so much that's wrong with a lot of the ratings that came out for Madden, but it is what it is. So I have them at 9-8. You have them at 8-9. So my guess is this next team is going to decide whether or not the Steelers are in the basement or if they're competing for third place in the division, and that is the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns, still a good defense. Joe Flacco, one of the guys that came back against the Bears this last year from a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter. He's gone. I mean, he's older. I didn't even look up to see if.
But they add Jameis Winston. They add Deontay Foreman, Jerry Jeudy. I think is the biggest add there. Yep. Zach Winter and Brian Allen. They only lose Flacco and Kareem Hunt. I think that this team can be better than what people think that they're going to be. I think that, it's a lot of it hinges on whether or not you believe in Deshaun Watson. Yeah. And all you need is for Deshaun Watson to be half of what he was when he was in Houston, and you're a better team, because he was really, really bad last year. And if he's half of what he was in Houston, this team can find a way to win. Now, their schedule isn't as tough as the Steelers' schedule, right? So for me, when I'm looking at this division and I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns, I might have to take them to finish a little bit higher than the Pittsburgh Steelers. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I don't know what the record's going to be. I mean, it'd be hard to say that they're going to win 10 games. But I mean, if I got the Steelers winning 8, but I think the Browns can be good. And like you said, I mean, it happens with players a lot where they're hurt for a couple years. I don't see him getting. You got to go to the law averages and say Deshaun Watson probably plays most of the games this year, right? From what I hear, he's healthy and he's playing well. I mean, it was just one article I read half of, but and if he's good and he's playing like you said, if he's half the player, I mean, I think a healthy Deshaun Watson could be 80-90% of the player he was. It's not, I mean, they had more pieces with the Texans when he was in his heyday, but I still think this could be a pretty decent offense. And that's all you have to be with this defense, because this defense is going to be ferocious again.
And the way that their schedule goes, and I'm going to tell you, I have them starting out 5-0, but then I have them going to 5-4 before they have another game that they could possibly win. Now I think that they beat the Cowboys week 1 just because it's week 1 and weird things happen. I do think that the Cowboys are better, but I think that they take a step back this year as well, and weird things happen in week 1. So I have the Cleveland Browns winning that. Yeah. But after that, they get the Jaguars, Giants, Raiders, and Commanders. Those are all winnable games for the Cleveland Browns. But then after starting out the season, whether it's 4-1 or 5-0, then they go to Philadelphia. They get the Cincinnati Bengals. They get the Baltimore Ravens. They get and the Los Angeles Chargers, who I believe are going to be vastly improved this year under Jim Harbaugh. Before they get the Saints, Steelers, Broncos, Steelers, and then finish off the year. The last 4 games, they lose all of them. Chiefs, Bengals, Dolphins, and Ravens. So I actually have this team at 10-7.
10-7 sounds okay. Now that you put it that way, I'm going to have to agree with you there. Yeah, I mean, I think they could be good. I think they can be pretty good. Like I said, you have a top 15 offense.
Yeah.
You're probably in the playoffs with this team.
Yeah, and the addition of Jerry Jeudy, I agree with Jeremiah Murray. I think it's the biggest addition, like I said earlier. I think it gives them more options to go deep. And that's something that they couldn't do last year because they were going through quarterbacks so much. Their quarterbacks could not stay healthy. I think a healthy season from Deshaun Watson, I think this team could go 10-7 and possibly maybe back into a wild card spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, putting the Steelers in last place, that's tough.
It is tough, but I mean, this is a team that I think just at this point in Tomlin's career with the rosters that they're giving him, I think he's just striving to go 9-8 every year.
Yeah.
And so I think he finds a way to go 9, but I really do think that the Browns are a 10-7 team. Let's move forward. Now let's go to, you want to go Baltimore or you want to go Cincinnati? Which one do you want to do?
Let's go to Cincinnati. I think
right,
we
so-
all know what Baltimore is going to be.
We'll go to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's
Okay.
key additions are Zach Moss, Jermaine Burton, Mike Gesicki, Amarius Mims, Trent Brown, and Geno Stone. They did lose Joe Mixon, and replacing him with Zach Moss, I'm not so sure that you're going to get the same production. Tyler Boyd as well, Jonah Williams, and Chidobe Awuzie. What are your thoughts on the Ravens? Or I'm sorry, on the Bengals.
Bengals. I think this is a team that's probably going to be pretty desperate because they're going to lose Higgins and Jamar Chase next year, at least one or the other. There's not going to still be on this team. So they're going to want to win this year. I mean, that might even be a possible trade mid-year or something like that. Joe Burrow's back. I think he's going to be incredible. I think he's going to be really good again. I mean, this is a guy that could still challenge Patrick Mahomes in this AFC because it doesn't look like the Buffalo Bills even want to, which with some of the weird draft night trades and everything going on there. And, but yeah, I mean, I think this will be another good team in this AFC North. I think this AFC North is going to be tough this year, especially if these quarterbacks all stay healthy. In this division. So Bengals, it's hard to say with records.
I mean, they're going to be one of those teams, and it's going. I mean, I think a lot of this season is going to hinge on the run game, and with Zach Moss, and Chase Brown being your 1-2 combo, I think they're going to force you to throw the ball, and it's going to matter on whether or not Joe Burrow can stay healthy. I don't think you're going to be able to run the ball effectively with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Now, Chase Brown might come up and be one of those kids that just has an outstanding year, runs for 1,200 yards, and Zach Moss runs for his usual 800, 900 yards. Then maybe all of a sudden the Bengals are a different looking team. But I think as long as Joe Burrow stays healthy, this is a really, really, really underrated Cincinnati Bengals team. And I think that they can be really good. I love their defense. Not a whole lot of losses on the defensive side. And for me, this team, to me, could be the cream of the crop of this division. You look at their schedule, and their schedule when you start with their regular season, you got New England, Kansas City at Kansas City, but then you get Washington, Carolina before you get Baltimore, and then New York, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Las Vegas, Baltimore, the Chargers, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Tennessee, Cleveland, Denver, and Pittsburgh. I think that their schedule is very favorable outside of the division. And for me, I've got this team. When I looked over the schedule and I went through it one by one, I got this team at 13-4.
Oh no, I got them 11-6 from what I just heard. I got them at 11-6. I mean, it's hard to do that because I just think Baltimore is going to be the better team this year. I think another year. With the offensive coordinator there and just the other Harbaugh being the coach he is. But I mean, you can never count out Joe Burrow. He's an incredible player, probably has the best long ball in the league, maybe the most accurate quarterback in the league.
I think he is the most accurate quarterback in the league. He's one of the most accurate. I think he's the most accurate quarterback since Dan Marino. And I've said that before.
Right. You might be right about that. What he did his rookie year, I think Jeremiah was saying something about him coming off his rookie contract. Yeah, I mean, this team is going to change after this year. I think, Bengals, if they're smart, they even have a trade happening halfway through the season to plug whatever hole they might have. Every team obviously has holes from injuries and maybe, guys just being bad all of a sudden, but I think that'd be the smart move too. I think they're going to really go for it this year. I just don't see them winning 13 games, but it could happen. It's fucking NFL.
Yes!
Fine new spank off material, Doubting Thomas. Get him, Shanna.
100%. Stop spanking to us. Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Henry is an addition. Maybe the biggest addition of the offseason. Devontae Walker as well at wide receiver. They lose Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Odell Beckham Jr., John Simpson, Kevin Zeitler, Patrick Queen, and Jadeveon Clowney. I think the biggest one out of all those is Jadeveon Clowney. what do you make of the Ravens and the addition of Derrick Henry?
I mean, are they the best rushing team in the league right now with Lamar Jackson?
110%.
And I looked up Derrick Henry. I'm like, oh, he's going to break down at some time the way he plays. And he's just turned 30. So he's going to have another year or two as a running back. I mean, there is running backs that were as good as him that played into their 30s pretty well. I know there's a lot of burn on the tires, but I mean, if he can have the year I think he can have, this could be an incredible offense and an incredible team and hard to stop. When you can run like that, it's very hard to stop a team like that. They're controlling the clock. Your defense is on for 36, 37, 38 minutes a game. You know, you're going to have some trouble. Send some picks. You know. Here we go. He's getting into Victor King.
Megan TV, come get your husband. At any rate. So I think that the addition of King Henry makes this a really, really, really formidable opponent. I mean, they're going to be very tough to beat. So that's why when I looked at their schedule, the biggest thing for me was to watch the defenses that they are playing. What defenses are they going up against? They start the season against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. It's a pretty damn good test of what you're going to be heading into this season. Then they get the Raiders, Cowboys in Dallas. They get the Buffalo Bills, the Bengals, Commanders, Buccaneers, Browns, Broncos, Bengals, Steelers, Chargers, Eagles, Giants, Steelers, Texans, Browns. And for me, when you start looking at the defense that they're playing, the Chiefs, fantastic defense. The Cowboys, a fantastic defense. The Bills, they had a fantastic defense, and like we talked about last week, they kind of traded all those pieces away. The Bengals twice, great defense. The Buccaneers, really solid defense. You look at the Chargers, another fantastic defense. They got two really good edge rushers. Their secondary is phenomenal. And the Eagles, another one, and the Texans. So for me, when I started looking at this, it's going to surprise some people. I do not have them winning this division. I have Cincinnati at 13-4. I have Baltimore right behind them at 12-5.
No, I think they win this division. I mean, I think some of those defenses you said were good are either aging or not good. I'll even put Dallas in there, and the Chargers gave up some yardage last year. Yeah, they have those edge rushers, but I still think they gave up a lot of yards as a defense. I just think this team is going to be hard to stop. Like I said, if you even a good defense, and we know this as Bears fan, you keep a good defense on the field for over 35 minutes, you might have some trouble. I think the Ravens are going to be really good. It's another year, and Todd, I think his name is Todd Monken. Todd Monken is the offensive coordinator, the guy from Georgia. Who's great for Lamar Jackson last year. I mean, Lamar Jackson won the MVP. You know, another year in this offense. I think it can only help them. I have them at 13-4, 12-5, something like that. They win this division.
Well, 13-4, 12-5. What are you picking?
I'll go 13-4.
All right, so you're going 13. So
did any team even win 13 games last year?
Yeah, a couple. But I know the Chiefs were one of them. But Baltimore and Cincinnati, we have them flip-flopped in the division. I've got Cincinnati at 13-4. You got Baltimore at 13-4. I've got Baltimore 12-5. You got Cincinnati 11-6. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch. This division, I think, might be the best division in the NFL.
Could be. It's all going to come down to what almost every team comes down to is quarterback health. And there wasn't a lot of good quarterback health last year. You name the Cleveland Browns. One of the quarterbacks are going to go down in this division. Who is it going to be? You know, at the Steelers, I think you're going to get most of the same from either quarterback there. But the other teams, their quarterback goes down. They're not going to be good. Yeah,
especially Cincinnati and Cleveland. Yeah, and even Baltimore, I guess, to a certain extent. But on this end, I've got all four teams in this division with a winning record. You were one game off of having all four teams with the winning record.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's one of the better coached divisions as well. I mean, I mean, you got a lot of long-termers, or you got at least 2 long-termers as coaches. I think they're going to be solid teams. And there's a lot of talent up and down some of these teams, and could be good quarterback play. It's going to be a fun division. Yeah.
So is Connor Williams a Bear? Says Jeremiah. I don't have what I thought he was with Miami. I didn't know Miami. Did Miami release him?
Breaking news.
There's that tackle that you want.
I don't have really any news about Connor
His
Williams.
Wikipedia says he plays for the Bears, but I wouldn't put it past Jeremiah to have gone and changed that.
I wouldn't either. I have no news on Connor Williams on the Bears.
I'm looking it up right now.
Big Cozy. That's his nickname, Big Cozy.
Yeah. He's a hell of a damn offensive lineman. I mean, if he's a Bear.
I think the problem with Jeremiah is
he's crazier than a shithouse rat. No one.
I think that could be Jeremiah's problem.
He's still a free agent according to all of this that I'm seeing right now. There has been no movement, but his Wikipedia does say that he plays for the Bears. It says that
if healthy, he can play center. Okay, now we have 4 centers, 4 centers.
It says
one left tackle. Great.
Hold on, I'm looking this up.
Jones is the left tackle.
It says that he signed a 1-year deal with the Chicago Bears. According to this Wikipedia.
27 years old.
Williams signed with the Bears a 1-year deal and looks to be the starting center for the team. Is what Wikipedia says. Now, I don't see anybody else. I don't see anybody. I don't see any other confirmation on that. Not ESPN, not I mean, you would assume that they'd be all over this. You says it shows Adam Schefter. Here, let me pull up Twitter real quick.
Jesus Christ. Breaking news on Windy City Sports Talk.
I'm doing some research.
Is brought to you by Scrubbing Bubbles. Jeremiah Murray uses Scrubbing Bubbles when he falls into sleep in the bathtub.
And coincidentally, that is also what Doubting Thomas used to whack himself while watching Combs and Fitz.
Yes.
Let's see here. Let me go to Adam Schefter. Pull up his Twitter account.
This is the problem with this fucking team too.
Yeah.
Can you play 3 guys at left tackle at one time? Can they give you 13 guys on the field? Because you still don't have really a left tackle. And don't give me this Braxton Jones bullshit. We don't have the clip anymore, but I have him wandering off into no man's land about 3 times last year.
So Adam Schefter has not posted anything in since July 3rd, at the very least, that I've gone back and looked at about Connor Williams being a Bear.
He's got a 4. Yeah, maybe he has a 4th of July hangover.
Oh, this show's Adam Schefter. Oh, I got you. You're stupid. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Connor Williams, great. I mean, what does that do anyway?
It beefs up that offensive line, gives you a lot of options.
I guess.
I mean, he's a hell of an offensive lineman, man.
Do I making me say it? Does he play left tackle?
He does.
He plays.
That's
center.
why. No, he's a tackle. He can play center, but he's a tackle.
How many times do centers also play left tackle? That doesn't happen. That's like shooting off fireworks through your sunroof on the Dan Ryan.
Oh God.
Yeah,
I mean, look,
I'm Chicago. You're right. You're right. It's July in Chicago, and I finally got the right graphic. This is our fucking teams. A combined winning percentage of .379. Look at this fucking crap.
I mean, he's coming off a torn ACL.
That could
and
be
supposedly he's healthy. So, but he's still unsigned from what I'm seeing. Everything that I'm showing is that he's still unsigned.
What guy isn't healthy right now? What guy comes into training camp and goes, "I'm not healthy. I feel terrible."
Jeremiah, you put that.
Nate Davis does.
You changed that Wikipedia just for this, didn't you? Just so you could talk about this.
I
fully believe it. No, we can't talk about the bull. They traded DeMar DeRozan. They've traded everybody. They're going to continue to trade. They're going to trade Levine. They're going to trade Vooch.
European guy who's 6'10", weighs 150 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. They got an interesting point guard. I only jerk off to Dan Patrick. That's kind of weird. Maybe Dan Patrick when he was young, but
it'll be as if they'd dipped themselves in magic waters.
Grubbing bubbles.
Hey, I fucked your dad.
What is going on? We gave our 2 best players for 2 second rounders and a Chomo that can't shoot. You know the story about Giddy, right?
Oh God, I'm gonna hear it, aren't I? No,
yeah, it was the same thing that happened with the same thing about the Rays outfielder. Only the difference was that Giddy was cleared of all charges. So
you mean the Rays shortstop?
Yeah, I always
Wander Franco, one of the best shortstops in the league.
Yeah.
Was diddling a 14, 15-year-old, whatever.
The same story. He was accused, but it came out that it wasn't true.
Okay.
He was acquitted of all charges. So
did Alan Williams, the ex-defensive coordinator with the Chicago Bears, was he?
He probably set him up on the date.
Towards them. Yeah.
Yeah. At any rate, it's been a great show, man. We've had a lot of fun. It's been we had Jack Heinrich on talking Blackhawks for a little while. Had a lot of fun with him on the show. Had a lot of fun with you guys in the chat. Even broke down the AFC North, in which I have the Cincinnati Bengals winning, and Fitz has the Baltimore Ravens winning. It's a lot different than last week, where we agreed on every single team just about, with the exception of maybe a couple of wins here and there.
Yeah.
We disagree on the AFC North. What do you guys think? Let us know in the chat. Let us know on social media. Hit it on our Facebook page. Let us know what you guys think and where you guys have everything. Fitzy, you got anything before we get out of here?
I have nothing. I think we covered every team. I mean, the White Sox, Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, all right. I'll see you guys there.